Hello guys. Alright, so today's video I will be talking to you about all the books that I read in the month of December. I know it's a little late in the year, but it's always better late than never. Okay, so sit tight and let's talk about the books. Alright you guys, Jambo, Karibu, welcome to my channel. My name is Chilanda and this is Library Without Borders. Alright you guys, so as you noticed, I am rocking my country's jersey. Okay, I don't know how many of you guys watch soccer, but it is the African Cup of Nations. Like, yay! And you know I've got to represent my country, the DRC. Yes. And there's a soccer there. Africa. Like, isn't that cool? So anyways, you guys, I watch sports sporadically, literally. My husband is into basketball and occasionally he can watch soccer, but mostly when it's like the World Cup or like right now, the African Cup of Nations. You know, he's really into it. And I thought, why not, support my country? And whenever DRC, the Republic Democratic of Congo, will play, I will be supporting them. And in fact, they played last Wednesday and they scored one. So it was even on both teams. So, y'all, please cross your fingers, pray to whoever you pray that my country makes it to the next group of people that will be playing. So without further ado, let's talk about the books that I read in the month of December. So I had set myself to read about 8 books and I only read 5 books. I know it is definitely short of what I had told myself that I would read, but I did not anticipate that the month of December would be so busy. But I had some great reads and 2 books that I was like, nah. Okay, the first book, let's just talk about this book. It's by Nancy Thayer, Let It Snow. Alright, so obviously whenever I buy a book, I usually read the blurb. And because it was obviously Christmas, it was a holiday book, it sounded appropriate. And it said New York best-selling. I should have not trusted this whole New York Times best-selling thing, but I trusted it. And let me tell you guys, it was all right. Like, it was not like spectacular. It is about Nancy and Andy. It's a small town romance set during the Christmas holidays, and Nancy has this, how do you call it, Nantucket toy shop where she sells all these Christmas toys, and it's happening during obviously a few days before Christmas. And what happens is that she's going through all of these last minute Christmas preparations, and at some point the landlord of the shop decides to raise the rent. And obviously Nancy is not all that rich, and her friends, all the other friends that also own shops along that strip, are also going through the whole hike in the rent. So they decide that they're gonna go and talk to this mean Grinch, the old landlord, and try to convince him that he can't raise the rent like that because they cannot afford it. And at the same time, she meets this little girl who comes to her shop and she tries to steal something, but then she tells the girl, like, do not steal, if you want, I can get you to work here so you can sort of work towards getting the toy that you want. Come to find out that this little girl is actually part of the family of the landlord, his granddaughter. She's his granddaughter, right? So you can just imagine how the story will unfold. And at some point she meets the daughter's uncle, whose name is Andy. So as I said, you guys, it wasn't spectacular. It was just a cute little romance. But the only thing was, there was no those scenes that you want in those romance books. There was nothing at all. There was a bit of kissing, and that was like maybe like 3/4 of the book, and there was nothing. They did not do nothing. So I didn't really feel something for the book. It was a meh. Like, it was, I'm sorry, guys. I don't even know what to say about this book, but I'm actually gonna rate this like a 2 out of 5. And the reason why, as I said, I'm not a writer, and I'm simply rating this based on my level of interest. Was I engaged with the story, with the characters? Did it keep me interested enough? Like, and all of that, once I answered all those questions, it was a 2 for me, you know. But I'm sure it could be cute for like maybe older people. That was that. And next, I read this book, you guys. I tabbed it. I don't even know why I tabbed it, but it was by Colson Whitehead, Harlem Shuffle. Now, when I first read the blurb of this book, it sounded interesting, but I didn't know that it was gonna be like a crime fictional. I don't read that type of genre. You know, first of all, I don't read a lot of thriller. I can pick one thriller here and there, but to pick up like a crime fiction, that's not my genre. But it was by, obviously, a Black author, and I decided, why not? The only thing what I have to say about this book, you guys, it was so confusing. Like, the way the narration or the way the book transitioned into like the next chapter or the next paragraph, it was just so confusing. But essentially, this book is about, hold on, what's his name again? Carney. Now, Carney owns a shop, okay, in Harlem, obviously, and he has a lovely wife with a beautiful daughter. Sounds like a nice family. And the only thing is, Carney is the son of a man that was actually into criminal activities. No problem. But the only thing with this story is that Carney has a cousin named Freddie. And Freddie is just trouble. Freddie is pure trouble. They grew up together because his dad was never in his life. So sad. Freddie's mom decided to raise Carney and her son. So, because, you know, I guess their mothers were sisters. So there you have it. So he grew up with Freddie. So he's very close to Freddie. But as I said, Freddie is trouble, and he's always getting him into troubles that should not be involved in. But because it's family, he always ends up getting involved. So what happens is that Freddie comes to see Carney and tells him that there's this heist that they need to pull. He has to come to Freddie's help. Obviously, Carney has a lot of things at stake. He doesn't want to do it, but somehow he wants to help his friend. He wants to help his cousin, and decides to get involved in that heist. So it's basically to go to this hotel called Hotel Teresa and steal this jewelry that's in a safe. So they do it. There's a little bit of mishaps, but they pull it off. No problem. So the next day, what happens is that he goes back to his store, and this other guy comes, Miami Joe. Miami Joe is this gangster guy that is also involved in everything that's bad news. And basically, he tells Carney that he needs his help, he wants the jewelry, and all that stuff. But what happens is that Miami Joe gets killed in Carney's store. And what I want to mention, guys, is that Carney is not, he's also he's a crook, okay? He does own the store, but he's also a middleman between things that get stolen and they're transferred onto his store, and he does sort of something with them and then sells them back. So he's like the middle man person, and sometimes people bring jewelries to him, and like I said, he will do something with the jewelry and then resell them. Okay, so there are all these crooks and all these gangsters people coming to him, basically asking him to smuggle some of these stolen goodies. So after that, as I was saying, he decides to go see this other guy because he's trying to expand his store. He's trying to get a little bigger, trying to get his family out of because although he has a store, he's not rich, you know? Like, a lot of these people who buy from him usually buy on credit, and they're not always upfront with the money. So he decides to go see this other guy who promises him like a good deal. But this guy is a banker, and he's also involved in trafficking drugs and all that stuff. So this guy says, you know, give me $500 and then I'll get you like in the line, like I'll get you like a bit closer to whatever deal. And what happens is that he's obviously duped by this banker and he loses his $500. So he decides that now that he's into, you know, all these gangster stuff, he got contacts. So he calls one of his crook person, I forgot his name, you guys. This is how complicated this book was. He calls one of his crooks, like, listen, I need you to pull a job on this dude, you know. He ripped me off and I want you to take care of him. So the way the plan unfolds, it's over a few weeks. And the way it unfolds is very interesting. I'm gonna just tell you that part. So there's this other woman. Guys, there was multiple characters and I'm trying to be precise and not lose you. So they decide to get the help of another woman. And this woman, I'm not going to say she's a hooker, but you know, she's involved in that kind of lifestyle. So she also knows that the banker is very mean. Like he's very, very mean, right? So he's like, I'm going to help you guys, but for a certain fee, like for something. No problem. So the way they decide to get the banker is that they're going to take pictures of him in this illicit way, you know, while he's like with the woman in the room. They're gonna take him in like all these weird positions and all that stuff. Okay, no problem. So the deal works, and Lord behold, the banker, his picture is published on news, and all over the news, and they're like, oh my god. So he's obviously fallen out of grace. But what happens is that he disappears with all the money of all these people who invested in that bank, and until the end of the book, that guy was not found. Okay. Before I conclude the end of the story, while all of this is happening in Harlem, you also have to remember it is also during the civil rights movement. People are protesting the killing of black people, black children. At some point, there's a story of this police guy who kills, I think, a 14-year-old kid who was unarmed. And when I saw that story, I was like, current reality. In fact, I just wanted to read you one or two quotes from the book. So it says here, a white cop shot an unarmed black boy 3 times and killed him. The obvious targets were raided, decimated: supermarkets, liquor stores, clothing stores, electronic shops. They stole everything and then grabbed a broom to steal the dust too. And the reason why I mention this is because wasn't it like during COVID when we're, you know, protesting what had happened to George Floyd and what happened to all those stores and all that stuff? And this book, when was it written? Because I was like, this sounds like a deja vu moment. So besides that, you guys, like I said, the book could have been like good, really good. The story was not terrible. It was just simply the writing style, you know, the way the author transitioned between Carney or Freddy or the other gangster or between the story. It was just way confusing, but I tried my best to tell you a little bit about what the book was about. That was Harlem Shuffle, and I'm gonna rate this like 2.5 out of 5, simply because I think it had some great parts. I could not find that interest in the book. So 2.5 out of 5. That's it. That's really it. All right, you guys. Next, on to my 3-star, no, actually 4-star. The rest of these books are 4 stars. And the next one is African Town by Irene Letham and Charles Waters. So the authors are here, and if you can see them. So this book is essentially about the last people that were taken from the African continent onto the boat, Clotilda, the Clotilda boat. And you guys, it's true stories, and it's a true story. And what I loved about this book was the way they depicted characters. Like, look at the drawings. Look at the drawings. I really like that. Essentially, it's about all these people that were taken from the African continent. And the way the story starts is, of course, like any other stories that we now know, of people just minding their own business in their villages. And what happens is that these people just come out of nowhere, take them, sweep them away, and just stack them on this Clotilda boat. And it's in the most, like, the worst conditions that you can imagine. These women are chained together in the boat, the men are chained together, and they're forced not only to go to the toilet where they are forced to witness these women being taken, and it is simply horrible. And it's a story, I think, of, is it Timothy? It's this captain who decides that during that time it was forbidden to bring more slaves, and it's this other guy, this white guy, who decides, I think his name is Timothy. So yes, it is this plantation dude named Timothy. He decides that the government wants to end slavery, but he's gonna prove to everyone and the community and the government that he can smuggle Africans onto the Clotilda. And that's what he does. What happens now? You have point of view of different characters. You have Kosola, you have Timothy, and what the authors also did is that they also give a voice to the Clotilda, to the boat. You also hear from Clotilda, the boat, how he feels about taking all these Africans and knowing that their journey across the ocean is gonna be perilous and all that stuff. So you have Kosola, you have Mary, you have James, you have Williams. It is so the book is written in different point of view according to the 5 people that were taken from Benin. And it actually says that there were 110 people on that Clotilda boat. And the way the story unfolds is that these people arrive on that plantation and they're growing into the period where slavery is banned, like abolished, and they're free. They're actually free. And now these Africans are thinking about going back to Africa. And unfortunately, they know that they have to work. And not only plantations were not trying to pay these Africans or these new free slaves a lot of money, but they knew that they had to endure a lot. And it is them trying to grapple with the idea that they will never go back to Africa and creating Africa Town in the southern part of the United States where they were. And it is them raising children and actually marrying between the descendant of those other Africans. So call them Americans, it's now them mixing with Black Americans and then rebuilding churches, the belief of the white people, but also bringing some of their own beliefs. It is also them creating a system of justice, because at some point, one of the characters does have a son who kills someone, and that's like the first crime committed in Africa Town. And now they have to deal with it. It is also them accepting that they will never see Africa again. Oh, my heart. It was a beautiful story. Let me see if I can read you a few quotes from here. Until I see the pile of stones, it's ritual for leaving. As we walk toward the pile, officials watch as each of us grabs a stone from the path. Mine is smooth and fits just right in my palm. I rub it with my thumb. Long, hard strokes until I am standing in front of the pile. Goodbye, I whisper. Goodbye to my old life. Goodbye to my home. Goodbye to my family and friends. Goodbye to me. Oh my gosh, you guys, that's so heartbreaking. And I also wanted to mention that the style of the way the book is written, it's almost like poetic or prose, or that's how the style of the book is written. It was a really good book. It was a fast read. It's interesting, and at the back, both authors actually expand more on the real characters. What happened to the characters still living after 1901? You have Abile, Augustine, Clotilda was presumed destroyed by fire. You have Cujo, he was shot in the throat in July 28, 1902. You have Gumpa, and died 1902 at age 70. James, these are real Africans, So you guys, I recommend reading this book, and this is a 4-star book for me. I really enjoyed the story. I love the characters. I love their tenacity, their resiliency, the way they just got together, you know, like these were strangers. They didn't know each other, but they got together and just built this African town. Like that's amazing. So please pick up this book. Yeah, African Town by Irene Letham and Charles Waters. Next are these two books. I already have the vlog on these books, so I'm not gonna talk about it, but I mean, if you want to know more on my thoughts about these books, please check my vlog because I thoroughly talked about these books. And I already rated them. They're obviously 4-star. Fourth Wing, amazing romantasy, and this is what contemporary romance between Jared Foster and Banner. Beautiful story, man. You guys need to pick this up. But I think everyone picked it up, like, right? So there. And Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I really had a good time with this book. I was surprised that I was into dragons and into all of this world building, but she did a good job with that. Like, I understood the hype. Like, so pick it up. All right, you guys. So that's it for all the books that I read for the month of December. I'm hoping to do better for the month of January. The 3 other books that were supposed to be read in December, I am currently reading them in the month of January, and I will talk about that in my next video. So in the meantime, you guys, I hope you're having a great weekend because I'm filming this on Saturday, and I hope to see you in my next video. So before I let you go, leave me a Congolese flag in the comment if you're able to, for, you know, Congo. All right, you guys. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.